ones. How are you doing? This is Life with Marlene, your Florida vlogger. And how are you guys doing? How is all my loved ones? I hope you all are doing amazingly well. Um, yeah, and I want to say I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you always for your support. Thanks for always being here every week for the Sip and Chat, where we always have some really great conversations, some awesome discussions. And today is going to be another amazing one that I'm actually looking really forward to having some good conversations about many different topics. And you know how we love to do on the Sip and Chat? We sip and we chat about very important topics. Um, so I'm very excited to have this conversation. And while we wait on my co host, Miss Nexie, I hope you guys have had an awesome and amazing September so far. And while we wait for my guests, what are you guys sipping on today? Do you guys have a coffee or tea or what is it that you have? Let me know in the comment section, and if you're watching on the replay, let me know that below in the comment section that you're drinking this and this. I always want to hear what you guys have to say. And while I wait on my co-host Miss Nexie, we're going to talk about our plans and our goals for this upcoming um this September, October, November, December. We only have 4 months left in the year, and I really and honestly can't believe that this year has gone by so fast that we are already in almost the fall time. And I am so excited to talk about this topic today because it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to talk about, but it's a topic that is so important. Today on the Sip and Chat, we're going to be talking about, excuse me, the kids of divorce and separation. And I feel like a lot of people focus so much on who separated or who divorced, but people don't really put any time, effort, and energy into what are the effects on the children. How do the children feel? Have they had conversations with their parents and things like that to make sure that they are maintaining a healthy mindset and not feeling like, where do we even begin? For them to not feel like they are the reason for the separation, they're the reason for the divorce. Because a lot of times children will blame themselves for what their parents did. And I think that that's really sad. So, while I wait for my co host, Miss Nexie, we are going to be uh, getting ourselves together. What kind of drink do you have? Right now, I have my drink of choice, which I'm waiting for my co host, and we're going to talk about what drink I have today. But before then, I want to ask you guys, are any of you children of divorce? Are you a child of a single parent? I want to hear from you guys in the chat, and also those who maybe you blamed yourself as a child because your mother or your father weren't aren't together. It's not always that children tell their parents everything, but one thing is for sure is that kids for sure are impacted when they don't have their mother and their father. And I'm not saying that having your mother and father is going to automatically make you feel seen and loved. And it's a good thing because oftentimes being separated is a good thing because parents together, the energy is very volatile, it's a very toxic environment. And I do think that it's very important that not only the children, but also the parent also feels loved and safe. And I know that so much people they stay together for their kids, they stay together for the relationship, and it's not a good relationship. We hear, because I come from the old school generation where people stayed together for many, many years, and it was not a good, healthy environment. you know, yeah, your parents or whoever, grandparents, aunties, and uncles were married for many years, but was that a healthy environment? Were the adults thriving there? Were the adults being supported? And that's not always the case. What happens most of the time is that the kids have to hear the mother and the father arguing all the time, or there's some sort of very toxic environment where they're being emotionally, verbally, financially um abused. And these poor kids have to listen to their mother or their father, because yes, it goes on both sides, because it can be, the mother really going in on the father and always putting him down and arguing with him and saying how he's not anything and you're not about nothing. And your little children are like sponges, and they're absorbing all of this toxicity about how the father is not about nothing and they're no good and they're stupid. And a child is listening to their mother berate their father, and also vice versa. It could be the father saying, Your mother is this, and your mother is ugly, and your mother is fat, and your mother is this." It's just not a good situation for many people. So we patience, because these conversations most definitely do matter. So let's get into talking about it, everybody. Kids of divorce and kids of separation. Not saying that it's the same, because it's not, but there is a major impact when it comes to children. Children they get so much things happen. I know how it was back in the day. So many children, they would know that, okay, you're going their separate ways, but there was no conversation like, this is not your fault. Mom and dad are We just don't do well together, and we don't want you to blame yourself, and both of us love you. Most of the time there are no conversations like that. There is no discussion. There is no support. There's no forum for the kids. And these poor kids will be going through so much with all thinking that it's my fault. I did something. Maybe because I got bad grades, or maybe because I'm not keeping my room up, or because I don't wash the dishes or do whatever chores in the house. That's the reason why my mom and dad aren't together. And there's so many kids that go through things like that and blaming themselves because of, for whatever reason, the mother and the father separate. But I think it's really important as adults for, if you do go your separate ways as husband and wife, or you do go your separate ways as boyfriend or girlfriend and it doesn't work out, kids need to be included in on the conversation, and for them to feel validated and to know that they are loved. And many children feel that they are unloved when it comes to separation. They feel like, because of me, I'm if they didn't have me, then they would still be together. I caused them to not be together. So all of that brings a lot of issues, and it can cause from a very young age for a child to harbor resentment against one sex, right? Like they can have a lot of issues, have mommy issues because of this and this was said, or father issues, daddy issues because of what the father may have said about the mother. So it's so much that can build until the breaking point, and nobody wants to get to that space of that breaking point. And it happens so often, but the kids, we always have to go back to kids and how kids are impacted. Nobody really wants to have the conversations to say how hard it is for all of the parents, the single parents. And I want to give a round of applause to all of the single parents, because I know that it's not easy for you all. I personally did not grow up in a single parent home. I grew up with my mother and my father, but there was some things that I saw growing up when I did see how things were for um, one of my siblings that was basically a single parent. And I'll talk about that when my co host comes in here. But there's a lot of things that happen throughout life. And with a poor child, they have a lot of internal dialogue and probably resentment and anger behind the divorce, behind the separation. Like, what is the real reason? Because most adults don't share the full reason as to why mom and dad are not together anymore. And then they'll blame themselves because there was no conversation and there was no support in telling the child, this is what, actually happened. And we don't want you to blame yourself, and we want you to know that you are loved. That's very important as an adult. And I didn't see it a lot growing up. I can't say that I ever saw that, those conversations, and telling a child, you're not to blame. You're not a bad kid. We don't hate you. We love you very much. But we also want you to know that mom and dad are not doing well together, and we will do better apart. But both of us love you. You are the best thing to come out of this relationship. That's very important for children to know and to hear before the breakup, not having this conversation after or many years after. Um, Most of the time, people are in their feelings because of the breakup. You know, adults are just trying to process that the relationship didn't break up, didn't work out, and this is what I'm feeling. But really, do you ask your children what they're going through and how they're dealing with it? Because oftentimes they're not. See, the child could be not coping well. Hello, Miss Nexie.
Marlene, I am so I'm at work today. It
Oh
has been so
no.
crazy.
Oh, I didn't know. I would have canceled it. I didn't
No,
know.
not at all. Not at all. I'm sorry I'm so late. but I am here and I am ready. Are we
Okay.
still doing it?
Yeah, we're here. We're live.
God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were live already. Okay, here I am. I'm at work and I'm like, it's been crazy day. A lot of
And
people showed up.
that's one of the reasons why I said I wanted for us to do a short one because we started so late. So, Miss Nexie, today we're talking about kids of divorce and separation.
Yes, ma'am. My
Hmm.
specialty. My
Hmm.
specialty.
That's
So
your specialty.
what was
Go
the
ahead,
last
Miss
thing you
Nexie.
said? I said, what was the last thing you said?
Okay, so I was just sharing how when people separate, like whether it's a husband and wife or it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, a lot of times the adults are dealing with their own struggle, their own pain towards the situation that they really don't think about how this this separation is going to affect their children.
Y- we talked about this the last time.
Miss
Um,
Nexie, I think your camera is on.
I said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I think we were covering this up the last time we were live, Miss Marlene, of, when divorce can be as fun or as, cordial as marriage, right? Or as happy as
Yeah.
marriage. But the reason, and I'm going to talk about me because my children are now adults. And when I went through my divorce, they were, I had teenagers, um, preteens, and so it was crazy. But for me, it was important that I, how can I put it? For me, it was important that they didn't get um, too consumed with the process of the divorce, that they didn't get too involved. They were going to get, involved somehow because now mom and dad, are not together. We have to
Mhm.
we're gonna have to visit dad in his place and then come back to mom and go to our friends, and we're not gonna have that family unit anymore. But I think that I wanted to wait. We both actually wanted to wait until our last one was of age so that we didn't have to argue about visitations, child support, and any of that.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, we were able to process the anger, the grief of, splitting up and getting divorced. So my kids, I try not to get them to meaning I didn't allow them to listen to the happening of or what I needed, what he was doing, what he wasn't doing, the drama of our divorce. I wanted them to have a good relationship with their dad. And I knew it was important for me to not getting mixed up with, the process. If one day they were going to have a good relationship with him. So it took us a long time to get divorced. And, I'm very grateful to my ex husband for that because he gave me that time to process. He gave me that time to process this for my children when they were home. He gave me time to grieve and help my children grieve the divorce and the shock and whatever else was coming their way. I appreciate that. He didn't rush me to get divorced. He didn't say, it has to be done now and I want this done. So he knew what I was trying to do for our children. So he allowed me the time to, to grieve and to come to terms with the fact that we were no longer a family and that we were getting divorced. And by not having that stress on top of everything else, allow me to process and help my children not get derailed by the divorce because remember I had teens and preteens, so they were in a very dangerous age
Yes,
that
that
they can
is.
either what is it, break or make.
Yes.
So I had to protect them. And I talked to him about this. I said, it's not the time for us to do this. Give me time. I'll let you know when I'm ready. Right now, the most important thing is our kids. So whatever we had to, when whatever we had to fight, whatever we had to do, we did it outside the house. I will tell him, hey, I'll see you at this restaurant or I'll see you outside this place. And we can argue about whatever it is they want to argue about, but not in front of the kids. That way, when they went to visit him, they went with joy. And, when they came back home, they had a great time with dad because, he even did this for us and did that for us, and they didn't have anything to resent him for. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yes. You're very clear, Miss Nixie, because I think a lot of people are not as mature as you and your ex husband have been because most of the time it was completely the wrong thing. They'll be, arguing. And we've seen it in many entertainers or many, quote unquote, regular people who go through a divorce and it becomes very messy. And the kids have to
Yes.
hear the screaming and the arguing. And I said that at the beginning of the live, it becomes very messy. And the other one is saying how your father is this, and the other one says your mother is that. So that does not paint the other parent in a good light. It makes like one child feel like they have to choose one parent.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yeah.
Miss Marlene, and I appreciate you saying that it was maturely done, but there's a reason why I was able to handle the divorce. I never expected, to be honest. It never crossed my mind that I was going to be a divorced woman. For me it was until married to a part. That was the whole. I mean, I was standing there in that altar saying those words, right? So I never expected for me to go through that. But the reason why I handled my divorce this way is because my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. My mom left my father with six children and she later divorced him. I'm not sure how many years after, but she left the country. So left us with my dad. My mother and my father were never, ever, ever, since I was 5 years old, able to be in the same room. They never once said a word to one another after that. And it wasn't because of my father, it was because of my mom. If my dad
Mm.
went to a wedding, my mom would not go. If my dad went to a birthday party, he will have to go in the morning, like early, and then he will have to leave. And so my mom could come in. If we had a wedding, my dad can go to the church and she will go to and this is from us, girls and sons getting married, nieces and whatever, nephews and grandkids, that's afterwards. But they went through this. I don't want to say my age, but 50 plus years of this, 60 years actually,
Wow.
probably more. My father just passed away 3 years ago, as you know, and they
My
were never in the
condolences.
same room together. They never discussed us. We never felt that she cared enough to say, hey, I want the kids to be okay, or, let's get together so the kids can see. Never. They were never in the same room at the same time again. Uh, that
Wow.
image, that image, Miss Marlene, stays in a child.
Yeah.
Because of that, Miss Marlene, I don't have any memory of my mother in my life when I was a little kid. I don't.
Mm.
I don't remember her. I don't. The first memories I have of her, I think is when I I think I was like 10 when I first met her, and those are the only memories I have. And then I went back home, but that was it. Like I didn't
Wow.
socialize with her. I didn't so and since they couldn't stand anyway, and I don't want to say they couldn't because that is assuming my father, or actually no, saying that my father was the one, and it wasn't him.
It
She
was
just couldn't
her.
stand. Yeah, she just couldn't stand being near my father ever. She didn't talk to him. She didn't, even if my dad was in the room, she would just get out and ignore him completely. Like it was this hate. And so in my divorce, I wanted it to be different. I wanted my children to know that, it can be, and that it's okay if two parents don't get along. that it has nothing to do with lack of loving them. It's not because we don't love you guys, right? That's what I wanted. The message that I wanted to send across my children is that it has nothing to do with us not loving you. It has to do with us, growing apart from one another. Not saying I don't love your dad, because I do. He's your father, and he made you. It's just that, we're different people. But that doesn't mean that it's your fault. And so I try to get along with him. I try to have, a great harmonious relationship with him, because even though our children are old, now we have grandkids, right? Coming our way. We have one now. My kids, the relationship they have with their dad as adults, Miss Marlene, and I'm gonna pat my back on this one. The relationship they have with him now is the relationship they want to have with him. Meaning,
Right.
if it's sour, if it's not so much closeness, if it's sporadically, I see you whenever I do, or I don't want to see you, that's between them. It has nothing to do with the fact that we got divorced. It has to do with the relationship they have as adults with their father. It's different, so different.
Yeah. So basically, it's like they have a choice.
Yes. And
The Many times it's not that way. They feel like they can't choose.
and which is why I wanted to bring up the way I did it, because I have seen, Miss Marlene, and the that we always, you and I are in a very similar profession. We get
Mhm.
to see a lot of weird things,
Yes.
but I get to see a lot of one parent talking bad about the other. Like, did your mom not take care of you? Did your mom leave you with somebody else? Like when they come to check them out, like if they have a little accident or whatever, at the hospital, whatever, they come already attacking the other parent. No, dad, I just fell or whatever. Oh, no, mom, dad didn't leave me. Did he bring you around so and so? And I'm looking at these people like, your child is in the hospital. What the has to do with you
Yeah.
and your ex? Like, what is wrong with you people? So I get to see the side on where parents use the child to hurt one another. And
Yes.
this is where I want to say something that worked in my mother's, and I'm very sorry, mom, because seriously, it's not something I want to talk about, but I have to. I think something that worked in very negative in my mom's relationship with us is that my mother was constantly, Miss Marlene, even to the day my father died, talking horribly about my father. And he was this and he was that, and he always made me suffer. And I mean, things that, woman, you left this
That a
man.
child should not hear about their parent.
And we've been hearing that forever, but that's not the point, Miss Money. They've been separated, I mean, divorced for 60 years. Let it go. She remarried. You know what I mean? My dad remarried. My dad never said a bad thing about my mom. If anything, my dad always said it was my fault, baby. I was immature. I drank too much. I hung around my friends too much. It was my fault, even though we knew it wasn't.
Mhm.
But her,
But your dad took the higher road.
but her saying, your dad is this, your dad, and sometimes in front of other people, what that did for us is resent my mother as we got older. First, it was sympathy. Oh, my poor mother. My dad probably did do that, so we got to put up with her because, whatever. As you get older and start seeing the differences and you start hearing people around you say, no, that's not true. That's not how it was. You're wrong on that one.
Mhm.
That's not how your father was. She's the one who made him that way. Or she's the one that changed the way your dad was because of the way she is. Once you start hearing that, you start seeing another perspective. Now, you go to your father and say, I can't believe she says this, she says that. Did you do that? Yes, it was my fault. Okay. Why did you do it? Well, because I was young, I was dumb, whatever. You start growing and you start realizing that the damage she was trying to cause between you and your father, that ripped, that is not a mother doesn't do that. A real mom doesn't do that. A real parent doesn't do that. That means you don't love me as much as that you did. Because when you love your children or whoever you love, you're always in protective mode. And if that means that you shut the F up because their dad treated you like dirt, their dad, I don't
Mhm.
know, at one point hit you or whatever, if you have to stay quiet so they can finally, when they get older, realize who their real dad is and not resent you for trashing them, and in the act of trashing them, pushing you even closer to your other parent, because that's what happens. People don't understand that. When you trash one parent versus the other, you put the kids to come closer to the other parent.
Yep, you put it's like basically just throwing them in their arms. Like, okay,
It's like when they tell you can't date that guy. What do you do? I'm
you're
gonna
gonna do
marry
the
him.
exact. Yep, you're gonna marry them. Hmm.
Gosh, they should have not
That's
dared
how it
me on that one.
goes. That's how it goes. But other parents don't parents sometimes don't understand how much they are impacting their children. Um, we didn't really get into it, but I also want to make sure we are putting in this space, even though it's not the same as divorce. But if there was a relationship and it didn't pan out, whether they were together for a brief moment or for many months or many years, we still have to talk about those who were together, but then they separated, so the relationship didn't work out, and basically now you have single parents, and
Hmm.
that's a hard thing to navigate. And I hear people say all the time, baby daddy, baby mama,
I
and
hate
all of
those
this
terms.
stuff. And I don't, Miss Nexie, I don't like that word
I
because
hate those terms. Baby mama,
yeah,
baby daddy, like
that's
so
my baby
degrading.
daddy, that's my baby mama.
Ugh,
No, that's the mother and
of my
that is the
child.
father.
Yes, yes. Because I want a sugar daddy, but that's something different. I want Miss Marlene to get one, but that's something totally different. I'm sorry, I had to say it, Miss Marlene. I had to say it. Look,
Uh,
what people don't understand, and this is the one thing that I was telling my one of my nephews a while back. He lived with his girlfriend for like 10 years. They have a 4-year old, a 5-year old. I have a little girl. They weren't married. They were just together. The baby, up until like a year or so ago, was with mom and dad. Now it's
okay.
no longer there. Now, what my nephew is finally realizing is the one thing that me and his, auntie um, told him, my sister, that when it comes to being a father, because I'm not talking about being the mom of that child, because when you're not married, um, custody is literally yours because you birthed that child, right? So that's
Yep.
your baby. The paternity, it's in the balance, like out of whack for the father. That even though he fathered the child, and you can prove it through DNA, their rights are very, I don't know. We need to fix that. It's very weird how it works,
Mhm.
right? So, what I don't like when that happens, Miss Marlene, is that because paternity or the rights as a father for a child out of wedlock, I hate that word too, but we have to use it, right?
Yeah.
For a child out of wedlock, his his rights as a father are very, very small. That men go through so much to visit.
Miss Nexie, I think it's so unfair the way men get a raw deal when it comes to their children. And I understand that it's the mother and the mother carry the child and all of that. But I really don't think it's fair because I've seen so many good men and they want to be a good father to their children, and their ex their ex-wife or their ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend will just not let them be a father, because all they think about is they see their child as a meal ticket.
And again, because of it's when you're married is different, Miss Marlene, because the
Hmm.
law backs the men more because the baby was and again, Miss Marlene, I don't know why laws are the way they are, right? But when it comes to non-married couples, whether it's 5 years or 5 months or whatever with the child, a lot of times their agreements are very, very poorly handled. And the girls, yes, a lot of girls in situations like this, when they're not married to the guy, either because of resentment or whatever, sometimes they, you know, take them to the cleaners and
Yep.
make a relationship with between the child and the father very, very difficult because they have all the rights.
Yep.
They have 100% of custody. They have 100 physical custody. They probably have 100% of non-physical custody. So everything that the father has, he has to fight to get if he's not married to that woman. Compared to when you're married, you go to a judge or you go to any lawyer, he tells you custody can be either 50-50, 20-80, 70-30, whatever you want, but it's guaranteed for the father to have that because you're getting divorced and these are his kids.
Yep. But when it's separation,
When
Miss
it's not
Mexi.
legally marriage, when it's not a legal marriage, is when all these other problems come to exist.
Yep.
And dads get the rotten end of the apple.
Yes, they
And I
do.
have to say it.
And it's so true, Miss Nexie, because we don't discriminate over here and just say, oh, because we're women, women are always right. Even though I will say a lot of times the women are right, but but not always. Because there are some good men out there. They're good fathers, and they want a chance to be with their kids, and it's just not fair with the court system, and especially when they were not married, they do not have the rights that a married man would have. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair that it's just okay. How much money can the man give, and then that's it. Not really thinking about that they need time with their children and all of those things. And the laws need to change because it's not right. And I've seen it so often. I know a few people that they have their children and they are no longer together. Two of them are married and divorced, and one is was just a single parent. So they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and then it just the relationship didn't work out. And I can tell you that what you're saying is the truth. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but you do not have laws to protect you when you're a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah. Well,
There's only laws when you were married.
mostly is for the males, right? Because I'm
Hmm.
not gonna lie to you. What I've seen the most, let's say they break up and automatically again, because she's the mother, they're not married. She has by law 100% of the custody of that child.
Hmm.
For that man that is not wedded to that woman to get custody, even if it's partial, and to get a good deal, he has to go through a lot of lawyers
A lot.
and to pray to God that the girl is okay with it and she's not in in rage, or she's not mad or vindictive or whatever it is. You
Hmm. That she's a ment She's a mentally stable woman.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, I'm not gonna say to you, Miss Marlene, that I sometimes didn't make mistakes. Maybe during a phone call that I was probably yelling, being mean to somebody that I wasn't supposed to. And kids will come in and say, "Oh my God, who you're talking to like that?" I'll be like, "Oh, one of my friends." I'm not saying I didn't. Sometimes, things happen. They hear you, but from you coming out of your mouth saying, "Your father is this, your father is that, your father did this and this and this and this to me." When you do that to a child, you're literally ending a probably very, very solid relationship between you and him or you and her as a mother. Because, no child wants to hear negative things about their father or their mother, regardless of who it is. So we have to be very careful on how we address the other person, even include in front of our children. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
Miss Nexie. That is something that is so real, Miss Nexie, because I have to tell you, when I've seen it, the product of it. Like I said, it has never happened to me, but I have friends and I know people that are going through those things, and it's like the easiest thing for them to be like, "Oh yeah, and you do this, and you do that," and and going back and arguing, and the kids are standing there or they're around and they're in earshot, and they hear the father call their mother or something that's very unsavory, and then the mother has something even slicker to say, and then they're going back and forth, and the kids are like standing there holding their ears because we don't understand that we're bringing damage to children, ruining them by saying things against the other. It makes one child feel like it's my fault, I did this because of me. That's why they're always arguing, they're always mad, they're always sad, they're always at each other. If
Yeah.
I
If I
wasn't
wasn't in this
around,
world,
it wouldn't be my
mhm,
fault.
there you go. If I wasn't in this world, it wouldn't be. Miss Marlene, I have cases. I have had I have heard of cases where they cannot even pick up the child from each other's homes. It's so contemptuous that they have to pick them up from the nearest sheriff station,
Mm,
from the nearest police department. They do the exchange of the child, whether it's pickup or return of the child there by court order,
because they can't get along.
because because they don't know how to control themselves. It's so horrible that the child is suffering. And in cases like this, we do it, not we, because I'm not part of that, but they do it mostly like when there's a lot of violence in the house. When they have been threats or whatever, or violence of one way or from one or the other, because a lot of times people jump very quick to blame men. Oh, they're the ones who do this. But you know what, Miss Marlene, I've seen it happen more when women are a little bit more aggressive. And I know I'm stepping on some toes.
Miss Nexie, you're not stepping on my toes because I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes it's like when you're mad at somebody and when they just show up and you're like everything that you thought about that
you
they
know,
did throughout the relationship, and one day you just hit them with a jab. You're like, yeah, and you did this, and you're that, and then you have to catch yourself like,
or,
oh,
or,
hi,
or,
kids. Hi,
or when
hi,
you're
kids.
Miss Marlene, or when already there's a point of no return, you're not getting back together. The damage is done. You need to move out of my house. And then you do something very drastic in the middle of the night that someone that hasn't been wanting to move for 2 months moves out the next day. So I've seen it. I've seen it happen firsthand.
Miss
That person
Nexie.
that person wakes up and runs out. Oh, this is crazy. I'm moving out. But we are too aggressive. We are the attackers as well. We cannot say, only men are aggressive. Oh my God, they are so mean, so rude. That poor woman has to go to the parking lot of the sheriff department of the police station to exchange the child because of him. No, it's not even that. Most of the time, it's not just him. Sometimes it's to protect him because of a crazy
Yep.
ex.
Yep. And what I just put in the chat, you never know how you will react. People will always say, "Oh no, it doesn't matter when it comes to my child. I'll always do this." You don't know how you are going to react in a given situation until it happens to you.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you cannot say, oh no, my child will never do something like that to her ex. Oh no, she loves those kids. You can't say that because you don't know your child. And she's not a child, she's an adult, right? So she's not a baby that you have to, that you still, you don't know. So you can be so late and I'm so sorry.
Yes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Miss Nexie. It just got robotic. No, you didn't lose me, but
I know you, Miss Marlene.
it just got
Oh.
robotic. So repeat what you just said.
Oh no, I was saying, in closing, because I know that I was late, right? I came a little late, whatever. But seeing the way I wasn't sure that the way I was doing things, because people would tell me, why are you still friends with him? Oh my God, why are you so nice to him? He did da, 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 and you still talk to him? Oh my God, why? And people will criticize because we went on vacations together, even after we were separated. We went to graduations. We went to birthday parties. We were children, so people would criticize. And sometimes when my kids were still young, I would get in my head and say, maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe the way my parents did it, we're okay, right? You know how we're okay, right, Miss Marlene? We don't need therapy. We're okay. Nothing happened to us. We're good, even though we are damaged. But so I will always get in my head and think,
Uh-oh.
say, you know what? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of it's just starting to get a little robotic. It's just starting to get a little T-Pain.
So that people don't, because I'm at work still.
Yeah.
I don't want people to hear me, but I'm trying to forgive me if it's crazy. But I will get in my head, and sometimes I will say, maybe the way I'm doing it with my kids, having him around all the time, socializing like nothing happened, still inviting them over to, birthday parties and sometimes celebrations of whatever nature, or to sports or vacation. I was like, maybe my friends are right. Maybe this is wrong and I'm crazy. Maybe my parents did it the right way. But now, very, very good human being, good relationships. Um, incorporating more into extending the family with, the new in-laws and stuff like that. Now we celebrate holidays. And again, I didn't poison their mind against their father. They have a good relationship with both of us in a way because we didn't do that. She's this, he's that. Oh my God, I hate her. Oh my God, you should. You shouldn't be so nice to her. She's this. Oh, he's that. That's what we were saying earlier. When you use your children like that, what you forget sometimes when they're little is that they're going to grow up. And eventually, all the poison that you put in their heads, or all the damage that you've done, they're gonna throw it back on your face. Realize later on and say, "How could you do that to me? How could you talk about my dad like that? Like, what's so wrong with you?" Right? So I see my kids now, and I'm very, very, very happy, very grateful that by the grace of God, I had him in my head saying, continue on regardless of what everybody else thinks, because what you're doing is the right thing for them, not for you, for them.
Yeah, Miss Nexie. And honestly, that is exactly what counts. What's good for them. And I wanted to highlight a comment that Sirius put in here, which I most definitely agree with. Sirius says women are more aggressive than men. They use these children as pawns. Sad but true. And a realist said, uh, um, the rest of the women on this app, I'm sure, would argue back and forth with y'all saying that lean and serious, even though it's true to it you know I have to say that there's going to be bad on both sides. There's no like,
Hmm.
oh, all men or all women. I don't agree in saying things and pointing on and grouping all in one category, because that's
Mm-mm.
never the truth. There's always going to be an exception to the rule. There's always going to be some that don't do right. But
Hmm.
it doesn't mean all men are bad. It doesn't mean all women are bad either, but there's always some that are going to act what I like to call ghetto. They're going
Hmm.
to act ghetto. They're going to
And,
be
and,
yeah, they're going to
and
be
Miss
that.
Marlene, remember, back in the day, what will happen if a woman will call for domestic violence? Right away, they will take the guy into custody. The guy will go to jail. The guy will pay the price. Sometimes it wasn't even he the aggressor, but it will be like, "You telling me she beat you? You're telling me she hit you? Like she's a girl. Like so you're telling me she abused you? Like you're a man, right?" So the misconception a lot of times is that only males are the attackers. I'm not saying that they're not, but we cannot generalize and say, yes, only they are the ones who attack women. Only they are the ones that, mess with the children's heads or whatever. No, we women do it too. And sometimes in ways that we don't even realize that we're doing it, messing with their
Mhm.
heads.
And that is the important part right there, because we have to stop making it seem like it's only the men, and they always focus, oh, it's the men, and the men are always wrong, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it is the women. It is
Hmm.
the women. And Sirius said something a little bit ago, that women are way too emotional when it comes down to their own personal feelings. In some
Hmm.
cases, that also causes the aggression, and also to controlling, because people, when it comes to your children, most women are going to be very mama bear, and it has to be how mama says, and that's it, and that's how it's going to go. This is how it's going to be. But you also have to think that they are also the father.
Miss Marlene, I have a boss. I'm not gonna say no names, but one of my bosses,
Hmm.
she says, you know, her kids are already grown. And her kids, I think she's older than I am, and her kids are older than my children. I think they were like, she started having babies like in the 70s, like mid 70s. And so she says, our kids are grown, and my ex and I have been um, separated and divorced for years. Um, and we have lived our lives, raised our children. She's like, he was a grumpy, grumpy, grumpy husband. Horrible, horrible, and in the most in the bedroom. That's what I'm gonna say. He was he wasn't a good husband. He was horrible there, but she goes, you know what? He's a freaking wonderful father. He is an amazing dad to our kids, even now that they're older. When they were younger, she's like, I'm a physician. I literally live in the hospital. He was mom and dad to those kids. They lived together, Miss Marlene, even after divorce in the same household. But the house was big. I think it had like six or something rooms. It was a huge house. They lived in the same house, divorce and everything, for 15 years after the divorce. So that the kids could be, so that they
Wow.
could raise, because she's a workaholic. And for her, medicine is more important than anything. And I'm sorry to say it, but sometimes that's the way it is. And she
Yeah,
says,
you have
he's,
to they have to make their choice.
and she's like, I'm so grateful to him. And my kids adore him. And I loved him because he selflessly gave all of his time for me to have a career and for our children to be okay, even after the divorce. So I cannot, Miss Marlene, ever forget that I know someone that has a wonderful man like that, even if it's an ex-husband, but that those kids have an amazing dad. So I cannot forget that men like that do exist. So we cannot generalize and say, yeah, men are horrible. Oh, they're the ones always messing up. No, they're not. No, they're not. Some men want to be wonderful dads, but they can't, and they stop because the law doesn't support them because they're not married to the moms.
Mm,
Even if they want to, they have to tiptoe around parental rights because they're not married, right? There's no divorce.
yep.
There's no division of property. And children, I'm sorry to say it, is they're kind of like considered like property. For you,
Yeah,
half for
they
me.
are.
And I'm sorry, but once I hear stories like that, and I've seen it with my eyes, so many guys that are wonderful parents, and then I see the exes come into the room. And what happened? What did you do? Weren't you paying attention? Like, not even asking how the baby is. They go straight into attack mode.
Yep.
And
It's always the men did wrong. The men did
yeah,
wrong. The
Miss
men did
Marlene,
wrong. And it's
and I have
not
to,
the truth.
Miss Marlene, and I have to sometimes interrupt and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, your child is okay, by the way. If you want to, if you want to know." Oh, I'm sorry. And they look at him like, and this is in front of their child, Miss Marlene, who is in a little hospital bed, fucking freaked out to death. Oops. I'm saying freaked out because something happened. It's already scared. It's already like not knowing what the hell is going on. And then you come in and jump into dad's throat just because an accident that any kid can have. And that's when I see sometimes that the dad sometimes do tell me, we're not married, so my parental rights. And I look in their faces, Miss Marlene, when they say that. Now he's like, I'm gonna lose the little time I had with her or him now that this happened. And I'm like, no, you don't. Yeah, I am. And that hurts me. That haunts me. And it bothers me.
Yeah. Of course, it should. It should. Because it's just not right. So much things happen, and we really don't want to talk about it. We really don't want to have those conversations. That it's a lot of mess up things. And if you have your own issues, you can't bring your personal issues or the fact that you don't get along with your ex when it comes to parenting. You got to check those things at the door. And most don't want to. They don't want to check it. They want to talk about how they treated them and what they've done and who they're with now. What does that have to do with the kids? Nothing.
Exactly. And right away, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, what the of them? It happens to kids every They fall from the chair, they fall that little jumping thing, they fall while walking, they get sick,
Yep.
it happens.
It's life.
Yep. But a lot of times it's very hard to make people understand that. And we're not saying that everybody is in one pot. Everybody is one like. No, we have different types of people. People that handle divorces differently. People that handle probably divorces, in the maybe better outcome than I had, right? Or people that have more outcome than I had. We have to understand that it's not just the one person that caused the divorce or the separation or the parental rights to go that way. We damage our children together. It's not just the one parent or the other, because I'm going to tell you something. If I would have ever heard my ex talk bad about of me to one of my children, I would have addressed it, Miss Marlene. I would have addressed it and said, "What the hell is so wrong with you? Have you an idea what you're doing to this child by bad mouthing me? Don't ever do it again,
Hmm.
or I'll do something about it." So we stay complicit if we don't address it, and we know, right? And if you hear someone, that saying, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
If you hear one of your friends do that to their child about the other parent, the absent parent, you have to correct them and say, "Don't. That is not good for your child." Because later on, kids have receipts, and they'll
Yeah.
they'll give them to you. They'll show them to you as they
Yeah,
get
they
older.
will. They'll read you your rights.
Yep. And then, as mothers, you start saying, "I wonder why, he doesn't visit me anymore." Or, "I wonder why she doesn't talk to me." Or, "I wonder why." Well, there's a reason why. There's a lot of things why. But you have to make sure that whatever the whys are, you didn't do it on purpose. When you do it on purpose, then you have no defense because you're doing it purposely. Maybe to harm the other person, but what you're forgetting is that this child loves him because that's her dad, or loves her because that's her mother.
Hmm. You have to, and I can't imagine how hard that must be, because when you have a breakup, there's always going to be like the thing that reason why you broke up, and that's always going to be in your head. But you cannot view the relationship that you have thinking about who they were when they were with you. That is over and that is done with. You need to focus on what is going to be the benefit of our children.
Hmm.
That's what
Exactly.
counts.
Yes, Miss Marlene. Even if sometimes we forget about our existence, you know what I mean? But our priority is making sure that that child's mind doesn't get polluted by the people that they love the most.
Yeah, it's very sad, Miss Nexie. So was a great sip and chat. I hate to bring it to an end, but I know that you're at work.
And you got to go to bed.
Yes, and I gotta go to bed because it's almost midnight.
I know, Miss Marlene. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry because I didn't start until what, 10:20 or something? Something like
So,
that.
so I was
Mhm.
trying to get away, trust me. But thank you for having me. And sorry if there was like weird noise in the background and connection problems. It's the hospital. I blame it on them.
Yep, that's right, Miss Nexie. Blame it on somebody else. But we wanted to have this conversation to say to anybody, if you have children, you gotta learn to get along for your children's sake. Forget about what you think about them. You got to learn how to be, I wouldn't even say friends, but you have to learn how to respect the other, because that's always going to be your child's mother or your child's father.
Exactly,
Mhm.
Miss Marlene. Couldn't have said it better myself. And even if relationships end for different reasons, right? We never really know exactly why that whatever ended. But what doesn't have to end is your love for your child. Co-parenting is part of that love. You're not just securing the moment as, as the child, growing up. What you're securing is a good future for this child of divorce, of separation. So put your little pride aside, put whatever feelings you have for that ex, and focus on the mental health and well-being of your children. That's all I can say. Thank you
Yeah,
for having me, Miss Marlene.
great conversation, Ms. Nexie. And you know what? I didn't even, we did this whole sip and chat. I never even asked you what you were sipping on.
I can't tell you because I'm at work, but it was wine.
Oh
I'm just
my goodness. And where is RSJ? If James was here, he would love that.
I'm sipping on tequila, but don't tell the patients that.
Yeah, okay. I won't tell the
They're okay.
patients.
They're okay.
Okay.
No, just water, Miss Marlene. Not. I haven't even had a chance for a cup of coffee. Put it that way. Right now, I'm already running back to continue my night.
Oh, I know. But I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this sip and chat. I feel so loved.
Oh my gosh, this one needed to be compared
She
better.
loves me. And you guys heard it. She loves me.
They messed up in that co-parenting on this one. I'm telling you guys. I'm joking, Miss Marlene. I do love you, and I really appreciate our topics, even though they are hard sometimes to hear as they are to say them, right? To express them. But if they can help one person change probably the way they are doing things, then hey, by all means, even if it hurts us, remembering what is or is not anymore. As long as we help someone. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that with you.
Yes, and I am grateful. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And everybody who is here, thank you so much for your support for the Sip and Chat every single Thursday. And if you're new here, subscribe. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to all of my channel members. I appreciate you guys. And me and Miss Nexty will see you guys next week.
Yes, we will. Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
wonderful weekend.
everybody.